let's go, I guess, through the history really of how Qatar even secured hosting the World Cup. There was a lot of controversy about it, corruption charges, the FBI looking into this. I mean, you're a huge footy fan. What was your reaction in 2010 when this was announced, and like just describe if you could the fallout from that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was highly unusual because beyond the location of it, which was unusual, right? Qatar, people were like, I think most people were like, huh? I've never even heard of that country before. And what was highly unusual is that they usually announce the World Cup two World Cups in advance, right? So in 2010, they would announce 2018, which ended up being Russia, which, goes to show just how things work in the world. But in this one in 2010, they announced Russia and Qatar at the same time,
Hmm.
and people were like, "That's weird, That's why did you do that?" And they're like, "Oh, we just did that." And the real reason was that FIFA, like many of our institutions, is run like a total gerontocracy, and it was the sort of FIFA council, the power brokers at FIFA were all extremely old. Sepp Blatter, who was the head of FIFA for many years, was an old man, but also like the heads of South America, the guy named Julio Rondona was a very old man. Everyone involved, like in the big kind of conferences, was old, and the real power brokers within FIFA. So they were like, why don't we just announce one ahead of time, and we get paid for two World Cups instead of one? Because obviously, what's very obvious is that half these guys were just getting payoffs in order to secure votes for a specific bid. Um, and yeah, that's basically what went down. They were like, we need to cash in before we get the hell out of here. And we're just going to move the announcement up 4 years and announce two World Cups at the same time.
And so Qatar specifically, I mean, is there any understanding, or is that still shrouded in secrecy, what money actually was traded or what favors were for them to host the World Cup? Because like the logistics of them hosting are insanely cumbersome, right? I mean, the Qatar is a very hot country. They had to also
Yeah.
build a ton of stadiums from the ground up for them to be able to even host this kind of tournament. Like from the environmental impact alone, there was a lot of controversy, but just the it's such an insane undertaking for them to even be able to host something of that magnitude that involves a lot of money in and of itself.
Yeah. No, I mean I mean we'll never really know like how much the actual bribes were, like because it's always done in through shell companies and a million, and there's never like a contract that says in exchange for your votes I will
Yeah.
pay you $20 million or whatever it is. But Qatar has uh, basically an unlimited amount of money, and they identified soccer, as did other oil states and other major oligarchs, identified soccer and generally sports, international sports, as a great way to exert soft power, what we would call sports washing. So Qatar, for example, owns, aside from hosting the World Cup, they own PSG in Paris, one of the richest teams in the world now. Who Messi plays there, and Mbappe plays there, and Neymar plays there, and Sergio Ramos plays there, because they have basically unlimited money and can pay them whatever the hell they want. Um, and then we've also seen kind of Manchester City get bought by Abu Dhabi. Newcastle was just bought by the Saudis. So there's been a trend of oil money essentially buying their way into international sport, with the bet that soccer especially is such an embedded and such a large fan base that people will just kind of overlook all the bad stuff about those places, right? I mean, you mentioned the building of the stadiums. I mean, not only is it an environmental impact, but they use literal slave labor where thousands of people died building those stadiums,
Jesus.
and like that's horrible and the worst thing ever. And but like they made an accurate bet that the billions of soccer fans around the world would just be like, oh, that's bad. but when Brazil takes the field, or when the Netherlands take the field, or when England takes the field, or whatever, we'll be cheering on like we always do. So yeah, I mean, it's part of this kind of just ongoing trend that has happened in the last decade. The international sports, whether it's the World Cup or the Olympics or international figure skating or whatever, are extremely easy to corrupt, right? Because they're not subject to any kind of one government's authority, right? It's much easier to corrupt FIFA, this supranational organization, than it is to corrupt, like, say, the NBA, because the NBA is subject to American laws and the American government, and you can only get away with so much. Who's going to prosecute FIFA? I mean, they can prosecute them in individual countries, but the bulk of it is done outside of those jurisdictions. And so as an institution, it's very, very difficult to censor FIFA, to throw anyone in jail, to anyone meaningful. So that's why the sort of bet from these oligarchs is that we'll be able to get away with almost anything, and it's probably true.
I mean, and the Saudis are doing this with the golf league as well. I mean, and that
Yeah,
seems like more of a way to just then you're in the halls of a lot of power. If you're in the golf game, there's a lot of money of just like, it might not be as widely popular as a sport, but the people that are in that sport are connected to some very like wealthy interests. But I think the bet is a good one, even though it's like deeply concerning. And we have this image here of some of the fan villages that
yeah,
like Bradley's gonna pull that up here, but it really is just like astonishing. I'm curious if people are gonna be okay in some of the conditions there. I mean, it's gonna be over 100 degrees. They're housing people in these $200 a night fan villages out in Qatar. And if people are watching and not just listening, you can see that it's it's like they're like the shipping containers. I mean, I gotta believe that they have to have air conditioning, right? I mean, please tell me they have air conditioning. I don't know if you would know this, but still, it's just it seems like a disaster waiting to happen. But at the same time, it's like, I'm gonna be watching, right?
yeah.
It's I had some of the same reaction to people kind of being up in arms about the Saudi Golf League, which is, yes, I think there are elements of it that are wrong, and the Saudi government does violate human rights en masse, but also this is just kind of capitalism. So
Yeah.
part of the hand wring, some of it misses a broader systemic critique. Like no one was mad when BP was sponsoring, X sport event, right? And it's the same.
Well, and
It's the
you
same
can
crap.
also, like, I mean, if I were to be like not to be like a whataboutist or whatever, but the next World Cup is in the United States, Mexico, and Canada, with the United States being the main host in 2026. And it's like, what nation has brought more death and destruction to the world, Qatar or the United States? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, the United
Yeah.
States definitely, or what nation has had a worse environmental impact on the world? Whatever measure of of bad stuff, like, there is an element of that. Like, you can always. I'm not saying that that's some view that I subscribe to, but it is, the argument can be made, and one can make a persuasive argument that any country that hosts one of these things is not necessarily clean. But what is true is that from a logistical standpoint, the United States, Mexico, and Canada can host millions of
Yes.
people without too much trouble. People have asked me all the time, because I covered the 2014 World Cup in Brazil for a television show back in the day. I went to the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. People were like, "Oh, are you going to go to this one?" I'm like, "No, this is like extreme. Like, this is, no, absolutely not. Like, it's gonna suck. Like, it's gonna suck to be a fan there. Like, there's no way it's gonna be fun. Like, yeah, I'm actually being in a game will be fun, but everything around it will be an absolute nightmare. From a transportational nightmare. There's going to be
Right.
tons of traffic jams. Like, the lodging is going to be incredibly expensive unless you stay in one of these kind of shipping containers. The food's going to be terrible. Like it's just going to suck. Like it's going to absolutely suck. And I reckon that a lot of people just aren't going to go. Like
Yeah.
I was shocked at how few people, for example, what were in South Africa. I remember going to the United States versus Ghana match in South Africa, which was a an elimination match in a World Cup. It was a like I think it was the round of 16, and the stadium was half empty. And I wonder if we're going to see some of that in Qatar.
That is like maybe one of the biggest bummers, which is that so much of even watching from home of the experience of seeing that kind of spectacle is to have the energy of fans there. And like, that is probably, I think, from a viewing perspective, going to be one of the bigger drawbacks. And hopefully no one dies of heat
Yeah.
stroke. And no more people
Oh,
die
someone
in the
will. Someone will.